Question says, can the father appoint his friend to be the wali of his daughter for his daughter, even if the father is able and the rest of her male relatives are present? No, he can't do that. That's not allowed. Allahu Akbar. Moving on to lesson number 2, term 8 of tafsir. We continue, inshallah ta'ala, where we left off in the tafsir of Surah Muhammad, which is ayah number 4, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yani after in the previous ayat, he mentioned the two different groups, those who follow falsehood, yani the party of a shaitan, and those who follow the truth, and they are the party of Ar-Rahman. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands al-jihad against the disbelievers. He says, فَإِذَا لَقِيتُمُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فَضَرْبَ الرِّقَابِ, that if you meet the disbelievers, yani in battle, then strike their necks. Yani, so Allah is commanding the believers that if you're in battle and you're fighting against the disbelievers, then strike their necks, meaning kill them. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Anfal, فَاضْرِبُوا فَوْقَ الْأَعْنَاقِ وَاضْرِبُوا مِنْهُمْ كُلَّ بَنَانٍ, yani strike above their necks and strike them from every fingertip. ذلك بأنهم شاقوا الله ورسوله. That's because they oppose Allah and His Messenger. ومن يشاق الله ورسوله فإن الله شديد العقاب. Whoever opposes Allah and His Messenger, then Allah is severe in punishment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, حتى إذا أثخنتموهم فشدوا الوثاق, until you completely subdue them, then bind them firmly. Yani after you have fought them and killed many of them, and you have overpowered the disbelievers, then those that are alive, take them as captives, bind them, tie them up, strong and firmly. So here, أثخنتموهم, one of the meanings is yani to overpower. And if you've overpowered them, then take them as prisoners and tie them up firmly. Another meaning of it could be that there's been a lot of casualties. You've killed a lot of them. So the meaning would be, until in their army there's only a few left, then take the remainder as captives. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِمَّا مَنًّا بَعْدُ وَإِمَّا فِدَاءً. And then after that, you either free them without ransom or you ransom them for something in exchange. Now, there's ikhtilaf regarding this ayah. Some say that it's mansukh, others say it's not mansukh. Imam al-Shawkani, he says that many of the ulama, they say that it's not mansukh, and that the imam, he has the choice between killing the remaining people or taking them as prisoners. And if he does take them as captives, he has the choice of freeing them without ransom or freeing them with a ransom or taking a ransom. And he says, Imam Shawkani, he said this is the strongest opinion because the Prophet ﷺ and the Khulafa al-Rashidun, this is what they did. He also mentions that another opinion is that it's mansukh, it's abrogated. This ruling is abrogated for the idolaters. That it's not permissible to ransom the idolaters, yani to free them without ransom or take a ransom. And the evidence they use is Allah, He says, فَقَتُلُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدْتُمُوهُم. Kill the polytheists wherever you find them. And so, according to that opinion, if you're fighting against yani, idolaters, then you must kill all of the mushriks in a battle. Except for those who, yani, there's evidence that you leave them, like the women, the children, the ones who pay the jizya, etc. So Allah is saying here, فَإِمَّا مَنًّا بَعْدُ وَإِمَّا فِدَاءً. Either you have the choice that you free these disbelievers that you've captured, You free them without anything in exchange. Or you take an exchange, a ransom. The disbelievers have to pay something. Or perhaps the ransom is that they are exchanged for Muslim prisoners. Yani, the point is that Allah is saying you have the choice, O believers. Yani, when the war has finished, you have the choice what to do with the captives. حتى تضع الحرب أوزارها, until the war lays down its burdens. Yani, the battle comes to an end. Yani, meaning, continue to do this. What I've commanded you to do in terms of fighting and killing the disbelievers who are fighting against you and taking them as captives until the battle ends and the arms have been put down. There's ikhtilaf regarding the meaning here. One of the interpretations is yani, continue until they embrace Islam. They all embrace Islam. Another opinion is that until you kill them all and overpower them. Another opinion is you continue fighting against the disbelievers in jihad, those who fight against you, until Isa descends. And some say that in general, that the burdens of war won't come to an end so long as there's a disbeliever who is at war with you in the dunya. There's a hadith from Imran ibn Hussein that the Prophet ﷺ, he said that there will always be a group of my ummah who are fighting for the truth. And they will be victorious against those who oppose them until the last of them will fight the Dajjal. Now, this ayah here, this beginning part of this ayah, up to what we've taken, it shows us how jihad is performed, the rules. And that is when you meet the disbelievers in the battle, then you strike their necks and you try to kill them. And when the war is coming to an end, and you have overpowered them and you've killed many of them, then you take them as captives. And then after that, the leader of the Muslims, he has that choice of either freeing those captives for nothing in exchange, or freeing them for a ransom of wealth or in exchange for other Muslims. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, ذَلِكَ وَلَوْ يَشَاءُ اللَّهُ لَانْتَصَرَ مِنْهُمْ. That is the command, everything that has been mentioned. And if Allah wanted to, he could have taken revenge over them. And Allah is saying that, O believers, I've commanded you with the things that we've mentioned previously regarding jihad against the disbelievers who are fighting you. But the reality is that if Allah, he wanted, he could have taken revenge himself against the disbelievers. By punishing them right here, right now, without you having to go to battle with them. But then Allah explains, وَلَكِنْ لِيَبْلُوَ بَعْضَكُمْ بِبَعْضٍ. However, you're commanded to do this, to fight. Allah commands you to fight so that he can test you with one another. Meaning Allah has legislated jihad as a test for the believers. He will clarify those who are the mujahideen and those who are patient, and he will reward them, and he will choose from amongst them those who will be shaheeds, martyrs, and he's testing as well the disbelievers amongst them as well. Those disbelievers will be punished through the hands of the believers. They'll be disgraced, and also they're tested because some of them might make tawbah later and embrace Islam. And so the point is here, Allah is saying that he is clarifying through jihad the state of his slaves, those who are truthful from those who are lying. those who truly have real iman. Not the iman that is based on just following the ones who are victorious. Then that's easy. And that's a weak iman. You're just gonna be a Muslim because they're winning the battles. Okay, now you have to go to jihad. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing those who are truthful from those who are lying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ali Imran, أم حسبتم أن تدخلوا الجنة ولما يعلم الله الذين جاهدوا منكم ويعلم الصابرين. Did you think that you will just enter Jannah and Allah won't know which amongst you has performed jihad, and He knows and you'll find out who are the patient as well. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He ends by saying, وَالَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَلَنْ يُضِلَّ أَعْمَالَهُم. But that those who fight in the path of Allah, then we will not waste their deeds. And as Allah is commanding to fight against the polytheists, He ends by giving a promise of reward for those who do this. The situation of when you get into a war is that many people will die. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that those who do jihad against the disbelievers and they die and they're martyrs in the path of Allah, their deeds won't be wasted. Rather, Allah will accept their deeds and He will reward them for that. سَيَهْدِيهِمْ وَيُصْلِحُ بَالَهُمْ. He will guide them and rectify their situations. Allah will guide them and their situations will be rectified. Imam al-Sa'di, he says, Allah will guide them to Jannah. Others, they say, Allah will guide them to Tawheed in their graves, when they're questioned by Munkar and Nakir. Others, they say, Sayahdihim, they'll be guided in the dunya and in the hereafter for that which is beneficial for them. Wa yuslihu balahum, and their situation will be rectified, in the dunya and in the akhirah as well. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in Surah Al Imran, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا. Don't think that those who have died in the path of Allah that they're dead. بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Rather, they're alive with their Lord and being provided. And so the reward of fighting and being a martyr in the path of Allah, the reward of that is great. But then Allah, He adds more things to it as well from what He's already mentioned. He says, وَيُدْخِلُهُمُ الْجَنَّةَ عَرَّفَهَا لَهُم. And He will enter them into Jannah, which He has made known for them. Allah will enter these martyrs into Jannah. And He will clarify for them Yawm al-Qiyamah, for each of them, the way to His home in Jannah. And He said, He will know the way and He won't need to be guided. It's known to Him where He lives. It's not difficult for Him to find it. There's a narration from Mujahid where he says that the people, they'll be guided to their homes in Jannah. They won't go the wrong ways. As if they've been living there since they've been created. They don't need anybody to say, you need to go this way or that way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Al Imran, فَالَّذِينَ هَاجَرُوا. As for those who make hijrah, وَأُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ, and they're pushed out of their lands, وَأُوذُوا فِي سَبِيلِي, and they are harmed in my path, وَقَاتَلُوا وَقُتِلُوا, and they fight and they're killed, لَأُكَفِّرَنَّ عَنْهُمْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ, we will expiate their sins, وَلَأُدْخِلَنَّهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ, and we will enter them into gardens underneath which rivers flow, ثَوَابًا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ, reward from Allah, وَاللَّهُ عِنْدَهُ حُسْنُ الثَّوَابِ, and with Allah is the best of rewards. And the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, and by the one in whose hand is the soul of Muhammad, a person in Jannah, he will know his home better than he knows it in this dunya. And subhanAllah, it's like that feeling of knowing that you're at home. And finally arriving after a long journey. And you know where your home is. And it's you know this is your home. I finally arrived. It's not something unknown to you. Like the first time you're entering, and your heart feels that I'm at home now. This is my home. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us all from Ahlul Jannah. That's where we're going to stop, inshallah ta'ala. And we'll continue from there, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, next lesson. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته